Hello, my name is Richard, known in the industry under many guises over the years, such as Brainstorm Crew, Infinite Motion, and Lectroid. Just to be more palatable for the listeners, I'm going to break this down into three main sections. Firstly, speaking about the start of my journey in the industry. Secondly, the equipment I use to produce. And lastly, where I'm at now. I've been producing music since the end of the 80s, starting with my trusted Commodore 64 with its iconic SID chip. My first vinyl release was in 1992, which was originally produced on the Amiga A500. At the time, genres such as drum and bass, hardcore, and all the consequential genres that emerged thereafter were non-existent. These were exciting times. The world was free from internet, and music production was not taught in schools, so every aspect of production was self-taught, and yet the industry was thriving. Over the decades that followed, I had a steady flow of over 40 releases on various labels in a variety of formats, as well as 3 self-released albums and official remixes, one of which was a 1980s #1 hit single. I have reached the top 10 status in various independent charts, including 2 at the #1 position. In the early days, before the advent of digital audio workstation software, I had a very limited arsenal of music hardware and a very tight budget. So I decided to put my interest in music together with my other passion, electronics, and started building my own synthesizers and recording equipment. My first project was an analog resonant filter, since my first synthesizer, the Casio CZ3000, which I acquired in 1989, did not have a filter. In the decades that followed, I have built many synthesizers and outboard effects, such as phasers, chorus units and vocoders. One of my vocoders is still in the stages of construction. My biggest project to date, though, is my modular synthesizer. I started building this before Eurorack became popular, hence the main section being in the Moog 5U format, or Moog for those in other countries. All of the panels were cut and drilled by hand, and all of the functions were handwritten onto the aluminium, as I didn't have any way of printing onto sheet metal. I have since expanded the system and built many Eurorack modules. Over the years, I have also amassed a large collection of analog synthesizers, and a few digital ones too. I have filled a wall with monosynths, but my favourite synthesizers are these polysynths. At the top, there is the Casio CZ1, the flagship version of my first synth, the CZ3000. The sound is totally unique, although there are software versions available now. A couple of Junos, and also my all-time favourite, the Jupiter 6. This is one machine that not only has its own unique sound, and even with the opinion of many producers saying it has a better feature set and sound than that of the flagship Jupiter 8, it has never been cloned or turned into software. I also have this JD800 at the bottom. On this wall, starting at the top, I have a couple of various synths, as well as my old Atari ST, another computer I wrote music with in the early days. You may also notice a circuit bent Speak and Spell, which I aptly named Speak and Hell due to the tone of the circuit bent voice. Below that is a collection of analog monosynths. Then there's the hand-built version of the System 100, which I self-named using Roland's logo. I don't think Roland will come after me for that though, since it's a one-off and it's built for myself. Anyway, next to that, another hand-built version of the Roland System 700. Doesn't have my name on that, but it was Roland's earliest modular. The circuits are identical to the originals, right down to the last transistor and diode. Continuing with the hand builds, we have some Jürgen Habel designs, such as the Selena Chorus, 2 for stereo, and a couple of phasers, a Ray Wilson vocoder, which I built into these nice lab-looking housings. There's a Behringer RD8, which I got for the purposes of circuit bending, and it now has a boom kick that when the decay is turned at full is guaranteed to rip any speakers you might want to put it through. Then there's a couple more classic monosynths, such as the SH101, the SH09, the 303, the ARP, and the Moog Rogue, or the Moog Rogue, depending where you're at. Moving round to the mix position, I have a collection of guitars, a bunch of synths for easy access while I'm producing, I have a preference for my Genelec 8040 monitors. I also have a set of Tannoy speakers connected to a Rotel hi-fi amp for reference. Over the years, I have arranged all my own gigs, both internationally and in my home country. This is all done without any external management, but once the lockdowns hit, everything came to a halt. With my burning passion for music and wanting to push myself further, I thought it would be the perfect time to gain a degree in my field. I am currently in my third year of my degree, and for my music technology project I have decided to produce an EP of 4 tracks. This should illustrate not only my own experience of music production, but also all that I have gained from the teachings in the university. I have decided to base my EP on the electro genre, since it is very versatile and not limited to tempo or 4-beat rhythms, so I am able to be more expressive without these limitations. I don't attribute my inspiration to a single person or artist, but more a collective of music spreading over many genres.